Last time I was rushing through the story. For the most part, that is because at the start there isn't much to talk about, especially for this account. But with Rule 4 out of the way, we can now begin this journey for real. Hello, friends and strangers, welcome back to Break Only. The first thing I want to get out of the way is character pulls. I will now mention these whenever they actually happen and not just all at the end. I just did that because, again, nothing really came up that influenced how Rule 4 played out. But now, again, that is over, everything matters, so now they are important. And on just some extra pulls I did in between farming, I get a Misha. Misha might be a really useful character for this account, especially with his ult being able to both freeze and being a 10 bounce. I already said I like bounces. With that out of the way, onwards to farming. Nothing super interesting for the most part, but definitely something that has to be mentioned here. There are two sets in particular that I want to focus on for this account. Obviously the break sets with Thief's Shooting Meteor and Glamov's Iron Cavalry. The Iron Cavalry set is potentially mostly known for being a break set because it increases your super break damage on the 4-piece set bonus. A set bonus we can probably not make use of this early on in the game, especially since we're only using 4-star relics. So, because both sets have the 2-piece set bonus of 16% break effect, having 2 pieces of both sets would give you the most break effect, right? Well, yes, kind of. I was convinced the Thief set would give you on 4-piece set bonus energy when you break enemy weakness. Well, this is 100% true. Except it also gives you 16% break effect. So me being like I want the most break effect, therefore 2 pieces of both sets, is the exact same break effect that only the Thief set gives you. Except that one would give you also extra energy. Now, this is early on, the enemies are not that difficult or that strong, we don't have super time limits that are strict and we have to get the most out of our damage or anything. So it doesn't matter that much. It is, however, quite funny that it happens this early. I did want to make a joke at some point about how gacha content creators are mostly known for not reading everything and stuff. And I was like, I read everything, and then instantly forget to do that because I'm already assuming that I know everything, which is maybe even worse than not reading it in the first place. I don't know, it's quite funny. But it's not like I'm doing this multiple times during one video, so it's fine, right? Anyway, after doing some basic farming, I also start Forgotten Hall. This is the first step to unlocking one of the endgame modes, Memory of Chaos, but we're far away from that. But first, just get some extra resources from this and see how our teams fare. Against the first few enemies, it's really not that problematic. They're basic enemies, they're somewhat weak still. We don't have to do too much. I still am, of course, adjusting the teams as necessary to match enemy weaknesses. After getting through the first few levels, we reach a little problem that the enemies are a bit high level. So to gear up a bit more, I'm starting Simulated Universe World 3 and 4. World 4 being the important one here. This unlocks the Talia ornament, another relic set that increases break effect. You need a lot of speed to get the most out of it, which right now we don't have. I've gotten incredibly unlucky with speed stats, but let's be honest, 4-star relics right now, so it doesn't matter. And if things get really bad and we need this extra bonus active, we have Asta's ult. She gives us right now like 40 speed, so we don't have as little speed as it seems like. We can have a lot more. After doing that, I also wanted to unlock an extra character with March, or rather her hunt version. And I therefore started her event, and then realized you do not get the character from the event, only her eidolons. The character is actually from the pre-quest to the event, which is not unlocked, and I decided that I will unlock it when I actually get there in the story. With the farming going along pretty well, I then decided to do the next equilibrium trial, which, let's be honest, these things are not necessarily a trial. They're more of a formality to just, make sure that you can progress if the difficulty of the game now increases. After that, another standard banner 10 pull, which doesn't give us that much. I mean, Mini Herta is potentially useful for some AoE focused fights, but right now I'm not investing in her at all, but definitely something to keep in mind for later. And with some now more upgraded characters with increased stats and upgraded traces, we go back into Forgotten Hall, which overall goes quite well. These fights are mostly not that much of a problem, yet at least, but they are one thing. A good showcase of what is potentially possible. And especially on one level, we get some pretty decent super break damage out of Misha. And this is what I mean when I say bounces are great. Not just are they great at breaking a singular enemy, Super Break scales with toughness reduction. Keep in mind this is a Misha who has like 60 break effect at this moment and only gets like the buff from Trailblazer Old and the Watchmaker set. We don't have anything else to increase our damage, so this is quite literally a fraction of what is possible. And it still did quite good damage. After some time, however, we hit the next wall. At Forgotten Hall 10 is the point where you need to have 2 teams. And therefore I decided that this is where I'm going to stop this for now. The next important thing to talk about would be the new banners. Or, well, new at the time of recording this. And even though Evernight and Herta might not be the most important characters for this account, the 4 stars on these banners are quite good for this account. Guinevere is an actually good character for a break build, and Shui is better on a hybrid build, sure, but she can still be very useful for this account. And so I just try to be a little lucky and just get them all in 1 or 2 10 pulls, which works somewhat. We get Gui. And of course you might now be questioning, like, is it a good idea to pull on these banners in the first place if I already did 40 pulls on Saridra? Well, it is questionable, definitely. And after now having done 60 pulls on featured characters, I definitely do think about if this is worth it still. But I think Shui might be helpful enough for this account in a lot of instances that, yes, this might be worth it. And so, once more, we obey the rules of a true gacha player. When in doubt, gamble harder, hit that button with passion, and show that you have no fear, and then it just works out. Like that. No issue. Never doubted in the first place. Well, with those wonderful pulls going perfectly fine and having now enough pity saved up, I'm absolutely never gonna pull on anything else until the next character that actually is important for this account comes out, which would be Constance in version 3.8. She is supposed to be a dedicated Super Break support, so I'm gonna be saving for her. But also immediate extra gamble on standard banner. On a more serious note, please gamble responsibly. And then the next instance of me not reading happens. I buy Fall of an Eon from Herta's shop. Now, I'm using this on my Shui on my main account all the time, and it has an effect that activates when you break an enemy's weakness. I therefore just thought this would be a very good light cone. It would be just useful, except it gives a damage bonus. Now, what does not scale with damage bonus? Exactly, break and super break. I do not know why I didn't read this, but again, it's early on. It doesn't matter too much, but it's funny that it happened twice, isn't it? And then, well, real life happened and my schedule got derailed. Therefore, I initially planned on starting the Xianzhou Law Fu, but, well, we're not doing that. I instead do multiple side quests and even some of the character quests to just do something and so to speak, progress the account. It still levels you up, even though right now we have a level cap. The XP is not lost, it just gets added when you actually increase your equilibrium level. And one of the things I tried was preparing for the future. If I don't plan on doing the Ciangelo food right now, that means we're doing this next time. And that also means I potentially could do it with the new character we get for free. Everyone gets them for free. Donhong Permansa Terre will be potentially useful. And that of course could mean I should maybe pre-farm, and I decided, why not just do that? Including boss materials. Which means I had to fight Aquila, and that went well. Completely well, absolutely perfectly well, and maybe difficulty 1 works. Maybe we can just do difficulty 1. Well, we can, but this definitely shows multiple things. The first one is obvious. This takes a while. The toughness that enemies get, the further you go into the story, the more you go into the newer things, the more power creep is introduced, is quite noticeable. And of course, that is like the most important thing for a break. If you can't reduce the enemy toughness fast enough, then, well, you're not gonna break them that fast. So this is essentially foreshadowing how much of a problem Amphorius could be. It also foreshadows one other little issue. And that is, if this fight takes this long with an actual full team and all that, and this is a low difficulty, how the hell am I going to do this in the actual story? Because I intend to increase the equilibrium level again and again and again. And if I take my time and I farm a lot, then that will happen quicker than I may expect, and well, in the story, this fight forces you to use Hyacinth, a character that I have literally banned on this account, so we're stuck with 3 characters and a skill point battery. This will be an experience that I'm quite honestly already not looking forward to. And this is one of the fights in Amphorius that I would classify as you kinda can't lose it. There is no real time limit here, now is there? Except there is. In all 3 phases, Aquila scales off of, well, it's different effects, but they all kind of function the same. It charges up, you have to break its parts, and then it goes down again. If you don't reduce the effect enough, then you will take a lot of damage. It's quite simple. But against an enemy that is this scaled up, especially with this much toughness and that just regenerates its broken parts again and again, it really shows how much of a struggle some of the later things in this game will be. Especially when we think about things like Nikador, the Flame Reaver, or even Lygus, who all have a much stricter time limit on summoning additional enemies that you have to defeat fast. Otherwise you just get kind of potentially one-shot. On the topic of farming things, I also then unlocked Divergent Universe. Now I don't have, so to speak, story access to it, but you can unlock everything in this game early. And I did this mostly to just help along with farming Talia ornaments. However, there is one little tiny thing that has to be taken into consideration. This mode features auto-mapping. What is that? Quite literally, it makes your characters viable. It gives them a full build, if you don't already have one. This includes relics. And it gives them, well, the meta relics. That means for most characters this will give them a crit build. And I just want to be honest here, that meant I had to level up a lot of little relics I didn't really want to level up, but if you have them all leveled up, the game doesn't force their, like, pre-made meta sets on you. I mean, their builds are not good, but the builds are still going kind of against Rule 1 of this account, so even though I said like, hey, I am only applying the rules when I get to choose characters and equipment, well, I get to choose the equipment. They just have to level it up. this is a bit annoying, but it is one thing that has to be done to get this, so to speak, ethically sourced. Now, this is Divergent Universe we're talking about, so ethically sourced is questionable to begin with. This mode quite literally is a power fantasy, unless you're doing like Conundrum level 6 and above. So there is kind of no real way for me to not accidentally just rush through this and win with things that have like absolutely nothing to do with the build. That just is the price to pay, but I still try to at least adhere to the rules somewhat, even though this mode quite literally just doesn't give a damn. And so, after beating the tutorial introduction to Divergent Universe, I go and farm a bit more. I also try to do the Ruan Mei quest, which pits us against the bug. This is an enemy that I was somewhat worried about, honest opinion, but quite honestly, the version you get in actual endgame is so much more of a coin flip of maybe it just instantly kills you. This low-level version is just kinda getting bullied by us, which is funny to see. And another standard banner 10 pull, but this one with a 5-star. And with that, I would say that's it for now. Next time, lawful, this time for real. Still, thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye, have a nice day.